Let's talk about how to use home equity to build wealth. Look, at the end of the day, home equity has got to be one of the greatest tools to actually building wealth. And it's something that you're probably going to do anyway. So whether you own the home or rent, you're going to pay a mortgage. Homes typically appreciate. I understand this market may be a little different, but overall, homes typically do this. So let's talk about the 5 tricks of how to use that home equity, right? You can build all this wealth, but what do you do with it? And yes, you can certainly leave it. I'm not saying that's not an option, but there's some really good ways to use this. And a couple things to note. Home equity, just to be very clear, is the difference between what you owe on your mortgage and what the home's value is. So you buy a home for X over time. If that value goes up, that's equity, but so is the equity that you build by paying down the mortgage, by paying down the debt. So that's the home equity piece that we're talking about here and what you can do to actually use it. So number one, you can actually get what's called a home equity line of credit. So to use the home equity to build wealth, one option can be is taking that equity out in the form of a HELOC or a home equity loan. And what do you do with that money? Step one, or trick one, a lot of folks do it. I've done it before myself, is you buy real estate investments. So in other words, you got this home, you got a ton of equity in it. You want to go buy another investment property. Maybe it's your first one. To be able to take that money out and then use it for the down payment on the next one is huge. Talk to somebody today. They're going to do it not even just to buy another investment property, but it's their property that in the next 3 years after their daughter graduates high school here in Dallas, they're going to move to Houston. And they found the house in their old neighborhood they want. So that's what they're going to do with it. And it's a great example of how, again, they can use that home equity to build wealth because now they're going to rent that house out. That's going to hopefully appreciate in value. Hopefully, right? That's the hope and dream. They're going to have the renters pay down that mortgage through rent. It's going to be one of the greatest things they can do. And they know exactly where they're going in 3 years. So that's awesome. Trick number two for using your home equity to build wealth is to fund home improvements. Boost the property value that you're in. I got somebody right now that unfortunately had a leak in their house, tore the kitchen up, and ultimately just left it to where they have to do a ton of work. Not ideal, certainly. But the good news is they're taking this opportunity. They're going to pull out some of the equity they have for those upgrades, and they're going to spend the money in the right way, get some energy efficient stuff put in, windows, etc. Certainly do the kitchen and the bathrooms. Those are the easy and obvious ones. But those are going to be great ways for them to actually increase their wealth by increasing the value of their home. So again, typically kitchen, bathroom, energy efficient stuff, those are the things where you get the biggest ROI on your dollars. Trick number three on how to use home equity to build wealth is you actually refinance to take that equity out, and then you can diversify your investments. So what does that mean? We've been talking about how to pour that money into either rental properties or to your current property to upgrade it. A lot of times they might use that to then take and put that money into, say, some type of retirement or saving for a kid's college. So it's still investing. It's just in a different vehicle that helps build that wealth to where equity in your home is 0% return on investment, right? Whether you have a house paid off or whether you got it fully leveraged, the house is still going to appreciate the same. But if you can take that money and put it into the kid's college account and it prevents them from borrowing money at whatever savings rates that those are, it might be a better instance to do that. So they can essentially take that money out and invest it in. And I don't say go to the stock market, but I am saying it's opportunities where you can find maybe some safe stocks that pay dividends or mutual funds or things like that. So that's certainly one other good thing you can do. Trick number four. This is probably the easiest and most obvious. At least to me it is, but I'm in the business. But one way to use your home equity to build wealth is to consolidate your high interest debt. So any credit card debts that you have or any student loans or car loans. We've recently done this where we paid off car loans, where the average car payment right now is over $1,000. Like that's crazy to me. It's close to it rather, but I'd say more often than not, you see them around $1,100, $1,200. That's nuts. So if you take some cash out of your home, pay that debt off, now you got $1,200 of found money every month coming in the door. That is a significant way to build wealth where you can just repay the mortgage and pay it off aggressively now and have a lower rate than what you would have on that car payment. So that is absolutely something we've done a lot of, especially credit card debts where the credit cards are 22%. Pay that off and then take that saved money and put it back into the mortgage and get that sucker paid down and back to where it once was. And number five, you can use your home equity to build wealth by doing maybe passive income streams. I truly hate the multiple investment streams, but the reality is it's true. I have them, but they're wonderful things to have. So as much as I hate the term, it's just a very much a millennial type saying. I'm like, we got to work to do it. Like nothing's free, but to use those to buy investments For example, I've gotten out of the single families market for a while, and I've now invested in passively with multifamily and other things like that. So you can use your money to ultimately go into other types of opportunities, investments to hopefully get more passive type income to where, it works. And by the way, some of those don't work. I've had some where I've got my money back and I have some where I lose. And that's just part of investing, right? The stock market doesn't always go up. Rental properties sometimes do cost you money when people get evicted and break things, but it is what it is. But it's still overall, these are great tips. So these are 5 ways that you can use your home equity to build wealth. And certainly, if you have any other thoughts and questions, let us know. But some of the biggest questions I get is kind of like, hey, what's the difference if I want to do this, Mark? So fine, I'm convinced I want to do one of these things. What's the difference between a home equity loan and a HELOC? Like, how do you know which one? The answer fundamentally is that a home equity loan, oftentimes, the way people mean it, technically they're both home equity loans, but the way people mean it is a home equity loan gives you like a lump sum up front, while a line of credit is just that. It's a line of credit. So a zero balance means zero payment. So I like line of credits if you don't need the money today, meaning if you might need it someday, a line of credit's great because it just opens up that available option to have it. And then the other part was which home improvements make the most sense to boost the home equity and the value. We talked about it earlier, the kitchen, the bathroom, et cetera. But I think one thing I just saw, which was mind blowing to me, if you're thinking about selling your home in the near future, look at your garage door, like the actual outside garage door. I had no idea, but that's literally has the highest in some recent polls I show, the highest for return on investment. So kitchens, bathrooms, and apparently garage doors. And then how does cash out refinancing help somebody diversify in their investments? Those are one of the questions we got when we did this. And it's essentially just this, right? So it depends on, and I'm not here to tell you I'm a financial planner that I know what you want, you need or want for your portfolio. As you get older, typically the idea is that you save more for conservative things and in retirement. So maybe more bonds and mutual funds, things like that. So ultimately, do consult with your financial advisor. It's just a way to get that equity, to use that home equity to unlock that equity so that you can use it to build wealth is the idea that you have that option. And then, that last one about the credit cards, paying off high interest debt, certainly a thing. If you want to help with your kiddos, a lot of folks we see now are paying for college. This may be a way to go tap that equity as well and really just help them doing that. So really the main risk is just making sure you don't get over your head. I don't want somebody taking that money and going to invest in risky stocks and things like that and taking on too much leverage where it hurts their day-to-day life. But at the end of the day, these are 5 great tips on how to use your home equity to build wealth.